creating a fun CGI character. Step 1. Have an idea. Step 2. Pick a starting shape. For silly little characters, I recommend either a UV sphere, cube, or round cube. To get round cubes, just make a cube, subdivide it, and set its smoothness to 1. Step 3. Know your tools. For example, the extrusion tool is used quite often. There's also insert faces. These can be used by pressing E and I, respectively. More importantly are the transform tools. To move things, press G. To rotate things, press R. To scale things, press S. To lock to an axis, press X, Y, or Z. To lock to two axes, hold Shift and press the axis you don't want to move on. Step 4. Trust the process. Oftentimes, things will look horrible when just starting out. However, with enough time, it'll come together. Step 5. Shaders. For these funky little CGI characters, we use procedural shaders. To get started, you can use a diffuse SDF in a color of your choice. There's also lighting. For me, I have all ambient lights in the scene turned off. The only thing lighting the little character are point lights that I try to cover the entire character with. The diffuse SDF doesn't quite give the same CGI look, so I use a special shader I got from someone else. Link in the description. About actually making your own shaders. What you do changes a lot depending on what exactly you are making. However, it's still best to know your tools. The ones I use the most are the wave texture, noise texture, gradient texture, color ramp, mix mode, and a method. What I'm doing here is just overlaying two wave textures to make a sort of interweaving pattern for a straw hat. Step 6. Rigging an armature. The armature lets us move the funny little character. Because this is such a simple little guy, we don't need anything too complex. All we need is a bone for each part of his body. The weight painting is even easier, as all we need to do is paint just the part the bone is for. Each bone only moves one part of the body. What I'm doing here is just selecting a part, inverting the selection, hiding the rest, and using the gradient tool with a constant fell off to paint the entire part. There's also inverse kinematics. That's fancy math words for how should this joint move to this point. The point is, it lets us move the hands and feet much more easily. Here's the basic way to do it. For the legs, find a bone at the bottom of the feet. Make another bone extruding from it. Remove its parenting by pressing Alt-P. Extrude a bone from the knee and remove its parenting too. Move it forward a bit. Then, make sure the knees are a little bent, otherwise else, it won't work properly. You do a very similar thing for the arms. Extrude a bone from the wrist and from the elbow. Remove both of their parents and move the elbow bones back a bit. To add the IK, click the IK bone, the bones we just made, and shift-click the bone before the foot/hand and press Ctrl-Shift-C and select Reverse Kinematics. For the knee/elbow, click on the yellow bone and in the menu on the right, you'll see something called Pole Target. Use the little eyedropper to select the armature, and where it says bone, find the name of your knee/elbow bone. The pole angle changes where the part is supposed to end, and the chain length changes how many bones to include in the IK. Step 7. Props. It's not really possible to teach how to make something other than a character in a general way. However, mostly what makes it look good is the shader and the shading. Everything in CGI is nice and smooth, so you'll typically want to right-click on your objects and shade smooth. For things like this chair, it's better to use Shade Smooth by angle and adjust the angle to focus mostly on really sharp angles. Step 8. Animating. To match classic CGI, you'll need a low frame rate, something like 12 FPS. Because this is pre-rendered, it is best to keep the frame range low. Every frame is an extra image you'll have on your computer. I put these in a spreadsheet, so I like to keep the range a square number, like 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, etc. One thing to keep in mind is your starting point. If you want 36 frames, but you start on frame 0, the range needs to be 1 less. For looping animations, always put the starting frame on the frame after the ending frame. If the start frame and end frame are the exact same, you'll have a weird gap when the animation loops. For this style, it's best to use simple interpolation. Basically, select all Z frames, right-click, and under interpolation type, select Bezier. This makes everything nice and smooth. Step 9. Rendering. For my game, NPCs are rendered in 8 different directions so they look like 3D objects despite being 2D. I use composting nodes, which make it look fancy and vivid. I purchased this effect, and I cannot really explain it. However, if you want something similar, you can use 2 scale nodes, a pixelization node, and a posterize node. First, posterize the output, then scale it down, then pixelate it, then scale it back up. I also use a low resolution. Again, every frame is a different image, so for 8 directions and 36 frames, that's 288 different images. There's probably a better way, but I'm not aware of one. I also make sure the background is transparent and make sure no other objects are in the scene as they make just weird reflections on the render.